Some of the best spaghetti westerns ever made can be streamed completely for free. As surprising as it may seem considering how far removed it is from the American Wild West setting, Italy is the home of many all-time great entries in the western movie genre. In fact, one spaghetti western in particular, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, is a strong contender for the best western ever. In addition to serving as a key subgenre, the spaghetti western holds an important role when it comes to the history of the genre. Hitting their stride in the mid-1960s, they marked a major turning point in the evolution of the western due in large part to its greater emphasis on violence and morally grey protagonists in comparison to Hollywood. Fortunately, it's not difficult to revisit, or experience for the first time, some of the most significant films or hidden gems in the spaghetti western subgenre. After all, Tubi, a free streaming service, boasts more than a few as part of its library of classic western movies, and that includes those of Lee Van Cleef, Franco Nero, James Coburn, and Terence Hill. 5. Menager, A Man Called Blade. Released in 1977 after spaghetti westerns were already past their heyday, Menager, A Man Called Blade features an unconventional hero in the form of Maurizio Merli's titular character. In the movie, Menager is introduced as a bounty hunter who apprehends his targets with an axe rather than a gun, which on its own paves the way for some unorthodox action sequences for a western. Menager, A Man Called Blade leans into the campy elements of its story, which is a fun western adventure centered on Menager's efforts to help a supposedly kidnapped woman and oppose a gang that controls a mine. The result is a narrative made up of figures with mysterious motives, making it hard for the main character to know who to trust. For the mercenary, Clint Eastwood isn't the only iconic spaghetti western star. Another actor with a great deal of significance to the genre is Franco Nero. In 1968, the Dango star headlined The Mercenary, an entertaining film that boasts a great villain performance from Jack Palance, an actor with a talent for playing menacing antagonists in westerns. The Mercenary casts Franco Nero as a self-centered gun-for-hire who joins an effort to start a revolution against the government of Mexico. Supported by a superb score from Ennio Morricone, who famously did the music for Clint Eastwood's Dollars trilogy, The Mercenary has all the hallmarks of a standout spaghetti western, including a main character with a questionable moral compass and a tragic backstory. 3. Sabata. Sabata was the first in a trilogy of western movies focused on the exploits of a bounty hunter and his allies. The 1968 film stars Lee Van Cleef, who played Angel Eyes and Colonel Mortimer in the Dollars trilogy. For this spaghetti western, Van Cleef gets to occupy the spotlight, portraying a mysterious, and morally ambiguous, gunslinger. In Sabata, Lee Van Cleef's character finds himself mixed up in one group's get-rich scheme, which involves robbing a bank and betraying their own town to a railroad company. But as it typically is with any great spaghetti western hero, Sabata's motivations aren't as clear-cut as saving the day from villains. He also has his own interests to think about. Sabata is a fun character to watch, as his methods have more depth than most western protagonists as well. Sabata doesn't prevail because he's the fastest gunslinger in the West, but because he's smarter than those around him. Similar to Eastwood's The Man with No Name, he isn't averse to using blackmail and other measures, meaning guns aren't the only answer for him. 2. A Fistful of Dynamite. Also known as Duck, You Sucker, A Fistful of Dynamite is a 1971 spaghetti western team-up that pairs two Hollywood stars, James Coburn and Rod Steiger. A Fistful of Dynamite was directed by Sergio Leone, the de facto godfather of the spaghetti western. So unsurprisingly, it's a quality entry into the subgenre. A Fistful of Dynamite sees an outlaw gang leader, Steiger, and an Irish rebel, Coburn, join forces against the Mexican army during the Mexican Revolution in the early 20th century. The specialty of Coburn's character is explosives, a detail that drives much of the action in the movie, and also serves as the basis of the title. As for the character played by Steiger, he's a long way away from hero material, given his treacherous and greedy behavior. In this way, he's an incredibly dark protagonist, even by the standards set by previous spaghetti westerns. That aspect of his character paves the way for an interesting, and at times, comedic dynamic with his more heroic counterpart, They Call Me Trinity. One of the greatest spaghetti western heroes ever was created in 1970 when Terence Hill played the starring role in They Call Me Trinity. The comedy western introduces Terence Hill's Trinity as a gunslinger with impossibly good shooting skills. Not only is he faster than anyone else, but he doesn't even have to be looking at his target to hit it with pinpoint accuracy. Trinity's shooting abilities aren't the only thing that make him an extraordinary example of a spaghetti western main character. They Call Me Trinity presents him as a nuanced character full of quirks, revealing that he almost exclusively eats beans, has no clear goals or direction in his life, carries him with his own unique and very recognizable stench. He's also surprisingly lazy, in that he often reclines in a makeshift bed dragged by his horse.